the senatorial district of my brother, Senator Karimi. And like I said, this matter becomes very urgent because of the fear that if you don't take very urgent action on this, it will definitely spread to other southern senatorial districts. In fact, I was discussing with Senator Fadansi on the sideline yesterday, and he has started that they have started seeing the sign of this issue in their own senatorial district too. So that's why I find it very necessary to bring it to the notice of Senate so that we can quickly do something about it. The local government in my senatorial district that is mostly affected is one of the biggest local government in the country. And I have the feeling that with much urgency, something must be done, and it must be done very quickly. With my permission, sir, I will briefly go through the urgent need to address insecurity in Kwara South Senatorial District and beyond, and particularly in the federal local government area, call for immediate and comprehensive federal intervention. The Senate notes with grave concern the escalating insecurity in Kwara South Senatorial District, especially in the federal local government area, where bandits' attacks, kidnappings, and killing have reached alarming levels in recent weeks, forcing thousands of residents to flee their communities. And I will want the Senate to take note that most of these people who are fleeing, straight away, they are going to Lagos to congest Lagos. And if you are not very careful, this thing will quickly snowball.
Nevertheless, we have moved the motion, so let me get somebody to second the motion. The Senator Karimi had a similar motion, so let him second the motion.
Karimi, Sunday Steve. I represent the people of Kogi West. Mr. President, my colleagues, I want to thank the leader, the deputy leader for bringing this motion. The axis bordering Kwara South Senatorial District, Kogi West, and Niger State has become the axis of evil for these criminal elements. Mr. President, in the last 6 months, our people have been under attacks every day. Kidnapping, killing, and looting. In fact, a part of my senatorial district, every part of my senatorial district, all local governments in my senatorial district has been attacked by these people. And they even took over some communities. In fact, one of the commissioners that traveled with my governor to the affected area called me yesterday and said, do you know they have taken over these communities? They did not only take over, our people fled from those communities, and they came, broke down their homes and took over their homes. That is the situation we find ourselves. Mr. President, one of those guys that was kidnapped and was with the bandit for months, when he was released, he made a statement. It's all over the social media that one of the leaders of the bandits said Your senator, Senator Karimi, he built barrack for soldiers to attack us. Yes, I built barracks, which I financed privately. It cost me a lot of money just to ensure security of that environment. They said, go and tell him with his barrack and his soldiers, we are waiting and looking for them, that we have generals in the field here. Mr. President, we've got to do something about it. Yes, the federal government is trying. They are planning to set up the forest guard. It's a noble move. But we need to do something urgently. Some people are benefiting from this
voice today. I'd like to, with your permission, commend the mover of this motion for the facts he has stated with regards to what is happening in Kwara State. Like we said earlier, Mr. President, they say injury to one is injury to all. Anything happening to any part of this country affects the whole. But listening to Senator Karimi, it is true that these violent criminals are advancing towards the south. They're doing a lot of damage, as you rightly said, in Kogi State. But they have crossed Kogi to Edo North. And when the mover of this motion talk about the need to establish a military barrack, I was just going to remind him that in Edo North, in Agenebote, we have a military barrack that has been there for more than 15 years. Well equipped. They even deploy people from that barrack to the northeast. And yet, within that local government, we have experienced series of killings, including targeting students in a minor seminary, many of whom have been kidnapped. They are Catholic priests, as well as some of the students. I think it bears reminding the Chief of Army Staff that he has to refocus and give firm instructions to military units, at least to guarantee their area of operation. But I have difficulties with the last part of my Senator Karime's statement about the political aspect. I think we have to be careful not to politicize what obviously is a criminality across the country. My plea, sir, Mr. President, in line with what we've done before, is to keep on reminding our armed forces that the battle is on and they must be seen to consolidate on the gains that have already been achieved. I am very sympathetic to the fact that many young officers and not so young have been wasted in their quest to defend us. While I acknowledge this laudable effort and the progress that have been made, I think it's important that we remind the armed forces that each day a Nigerian is kidnapped, particularly near a military facility. Our people feel discouraged. In Okwela, where we have 2 giant cement factories, 6 civil defense officers were felled by kidnappers. 6 of them in one fell swoop because they were protecting the expatriates working in that factory, and they managed to escape with 1 or 2 of those expatriates. But the men in uniform, civil defense, paid with their life, 6 of them. And that is why I have difficulties in no one can downplay that men in uniform and women in uniform are fighting hard to protect us. We just need to urge them to refocus, to re-strategize, and to recognize that if we are making gain in any war part and the criminals are migrating to another part, that is not a total gain. There has to be a strategy. I am limited by the fact that I can't lay claim to any knowledge of security. If you are pouring water from one side, it will be moving to the other side. So we need to cage them. There has to be a concerted effort to cage from the south, so they don't migrate to the south, as well as keep pushing them from the north so that you catch them at the center and find a ways and means of wasting them. Otherwise, my fear is that each time something happens near an army installation, people say, if this can happen near a military barrack, what about those of us who don't even have military installation? But I want to acknowledge what the armed forces are doing. I want to acknowledge the progress that have been made, but they need to be reminded that they need to work harder. And that is why I was a bit worried last week when a former chief of defense staff published a book called The Stars. I wasn't quite sure what to make out of his interview the following day, when he seeks, in my view, to almost suggest that it's a political something. I think the armed forces have a duty to stick to their mandate, focus on the job at hand, and ensure that they do not allow distractions. I don't think this thing is just political. I think there are people who are determined to make money. They found kidnapping as rewarding. They find, yes, you kidnap somebody, you pay, regardless of what the government might say. Individual family people are unable to resist paying a ransom, and every ransom you pay is an incentive for more people, for the people to go back and kidnap again. But I want to salute the armed forces and urge them through your leadership, sir, that there is still much more to be done. Thank you very much.